For the past couple of weeks I was working on Aeldun's skill system. Half of that time was spent on designing, and even after that I had to change a few things during implementation. I wanted Aeldun's combat to be interesting, dynamic and diverse. I wanted to make a flexible system. So I defined a few mandatory spells, or we could say mechanics, and if they could be easily implemented, then that means that the system is acceptable. And now I'd like to show these proof of concept skills. We will start with the simple ones and they will get more and more complex one by one. Needless to say, these are in no way final, just proofs. The first one is a simple single target spell which just damages the first damageable object it hits. And then the second one also always tries to go forward the clicked target. This one is even more complex. It's a homing projectile which always finds a path to the target, as it was seen in the previous video. And this is the penetrating projectile, which damages multiple targets, but less and less as it goes through more and more objects. And this is a similar one, creatively called stacking projectile, which passes through enemies as well, but only damages them a little. But when it reaches its target, it takes damage based on the number of enemies it passed through. Then there is the already seen bouncing projectile, which damages damageable objects, but bounces off everything else. And here is the Nova spell, which launches fireballs every 30 degrees. And now here it is, but with bouncing fireballs. And then finally a simple blizzard spell, which just creates a circle in which damageable objects are damaged periodically. I stopped after these because I must switch back to improving the procedural generation, but in theory much more complex mechanics are implementable with this system. And now I'd like to talk a bit more about the implementation, because maybe it's useful for you. Basically my system is made of skills, which on use spawn skill prefabs, as I call them. And they got behaviors which are reusable and lets the developer define the skill's initialization or lifetime. And there are effect objects which affect the world, as their name says. They are usually spawned by skills or by other effect objects, or maybe even by interactable objects. And then they got their own life in the world. Let's see an example. There is a Nova skill which just spawns effect objects around the caster every 30 degrees. For example, these cubes. And there is the bouncing projectile effect object. It derives from the projectile because it flies in the air, but it also bounces off from any surfaces which are not damageable. And here is our new Nova skill, which spawns bouncing projectiles. But we could spawn any other effect objects. Effect objects have collision and trigger callback trees. These callbacks can be overridden and also told whether they should propagate the collision further down the tree into a more generalized callback. For example, if on-collided target returns with true, upon colliding with the targeted creature, not just on-collided target, but on-collided creature is called as well. And this could go down to on-collided damageable, interactable, and then the final on-collided any callback. There is a callback chain also with tile maps and with other objects, and if it's needed, this will be further expanded. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you next time.